How's everybody doing today? Good? Was lunch good? You like the food options? Awesome. Yeah, we're a proud partner of Choose, who catered our food today. They donate all the uneaten food to homeless shelters. So we support them and their support of the community. Cool. So hi, everybody. My name is Nancy Wang, and I'm the founder and CEO of Advancing Women in Product. Thank you guys so much for coming. So before we get started with the content, I just want to say, can you believe that this is only our second executive summit? All right, so as an organization, we have not even crossed our 3-year-old mark, by the way, guys. We are less than 3 years old. I started the organization in 2017 when I was a product manager at Google, and we have yet to cross the 3-year mark, and we'll cross some of the stats a little bit later in the slide, but just wanted to kind of let that sink in because that really speaks to the need for an organization like Advancing Women in Product in the community, right? Because this is really a pathways problem that we're trying to solve. So we've heard about the lack of representation of women in engineering and STEM and other technical disciplines. But when you compare that and contrast that to the representation of women in, let's say, director roles, leadership roles, founders, right? That's where the disparity becomes even more pronounced. So to give you some statistics, something that really stuck out to me as actually Advancing Women in Product also did our Future of Women study this year, where we surveyed over 600 of our members who are either currently in engineering roles or product management or product design roles, and found some alarming stats. So these two actually were from national studies. The first one is after the age of 35, right? What we found is over 20% of women over the age of 35 are still in junior roles. So what does that mean, right? Year after year, you're in the same position, which means that did you try to get promoted, right? Maybe it didn't succeed. And so you tend to wonder after several years of trying to move up the ladder, right? How can I move up the ladder? What is the right path for me, right? And also, as you move up the ladder even further, it becomes even more pronounced, right? 5% of all C-level positions in companies that are considered for the S&P 500 are held by women. So that means when you go into a room, and I stole this from Nancy Pelosi addressing the cabinet, it tends to be like that, right? So show of hands, how many of us in the room have experienced a situation like this? Awesome. So that's why I expect you guys are all here today, which is why I'm super excited to see so many women gathered around this cause, because it's certainly something that is very important and dear to my heart as I'm thinking about building out my own product team within Amazon. So, for example, the bottom stat here is something that we pulled from our Future Women study that we did this year. We wrote about it in a few articles in Forbes Women as well, which is 67%, right? That is not a small number. It's a pretty significant percentage of women feel that when they're in male-dominated environments, it can be harder to get promoted, right? And so digging into some of the reasons why is why we've put on some pretty audacious content, right? Moving up the promotion pyramid, which will be, we invited a lot of our ambassadors within the AWIP community to come and speak on this topic, or how do I really affect real culture change in male-dominated environments? And then lastly, how do I make sure I measure my impact, right? Do you really know that you're moving forward, right? What are your highest ROI activities that you could be doing to increase representation? So with that said, what is AWIB doing, right? Hopefully some of you guys have learned about us from our social media posts, which our wonderful marketing team has done for us over the past couple months on this summit. Or you might have heard of us through some of our thought leadership pieces that we publish on Quora, Inc.com, Business Insider, our Forbes Women column, is we try to solve the gap via 2 ways. One is skills-based workshops, which is, you'll hear a little bit about that from our director of programming in just a little bit here, which is where we focus on what are the skills that you need to move to that next level, right? Because you're already in the position that you are, so you've passed that first hurdle, right? You've gotten the job. So what next, right? That's a question that I guess asked a lot. How do I move up now? And so we target key skills like how to build effective product roadmaps, how to design good APIs, and how to, when you're in that leadership level position, think about expanding your product portfolio, right? Whether to build in-house or acquire externally. And then, as you see from all of our speakers here, many of them, and hopefully all of them by the end of today, will be a part of our ambassador community. So inducing that community and level of engagement from executives who support our cause. So really thanks to all the speakers who you'll be hearing from today for donating their time to improving our community. And so here's the some leadership. I am, the momentum of AWIB is not just from one person. So I am so thrilled to have an amazing team who we all worked very hard together to make sure that we can put on events like this. And before I introduce them one by one and have them kind of stand up or raise their hand in the room here, just one note, we all have full-time jobs. So this is something we do outside of our full-time jobs. So myself, I lead product management for AWS Backup. So I work out of Seattle. And so a lot of us actually have flown into this event today. So I think the farthest I heard was Vermont, from someone who will be interviewing for our podcast team today, and also Washington, D.C. from our partnerships team. And so I also wanted to introduce Akrit, who's our Chief Strategy Officer. He, actually, I won't steal your thunder. You'll go into your own programming and our expansion plans. Pranava Duri, who leads our programming efforts. I actually believe he's on a customer escalation call right now, so we'll pass him for a little bit. Pat Yang, who's actually fundraising for his second fund. He actually runs a venture capital fund full-time, and so you'll be hearing from his partner, Andy Raverby, about our ambassadors program towards the end of our programming today. Jenny Tai, our Director of Membership. So if you like what you see today and want to join a engaged community, please talk to Jenny. I think you all have the Join Us flyers, so we're creating our first membership platform that Jenny will be describing a little bit later today. Deepti Kulkarni. So Deepti is our Director of Partnerships. So all of our sponsors and corporate partners that we work with, it's through Deepti and her team. So we cover all areas of the globe, as our partners are based out of Europe, Asia, many of whom are in the US. So Sadaf Hassan deserves a truly tremendous shout out. So she's our Chief Operating Officer, and she works for us out of Dubai. So think about the time difference, and she was just paying me 2 hours ago. So Sadaf is really dedicated to our mission and cause. And lastly, Cheryl Corbin, who's on official Google business in New York City right now. And so Cheryl is our Director of Marketing. And so all of the beautiful banners that you're seeing around the room, that is also led by Cheryl, her team, and our creative brand designer. And then going into chapter leadership. So not only do we operate in HQ-based team, that is also very distributed, as you can see, with folks from Dubai and the East Coast, but we also operate chapters. So for those of you who have come from other cities and areas to join us here today, if you'd like to be part of a chapter team, please contact me and I will direct you to one of the lovely women up here on the board. So starting with Trina. Trina is here. She is our chapter leader for Seattle. Bindu Toli, she's based out of Boston, and she's our chapter leader for Boston. Jackie DeJesse, who is currently honeymooning in Mexico, and she's our chapter leader for New York, which recently launched 2 weeks ago at the New York City chapter loft. Helen Camporsi, she's our chapter leader for Paris. So Paris is an extremely strategic market for us as well, given that it's a central location in Europe. And in fact, you'll hear from one of her board members, Lou Martinez Sancho, a little bit later today. Savita Arturaj. So introducing her a bit prematurely, but she will be launching her India chapters in Chennai and Bangalore later this, actually early 2020. Jara Houston, who you'll recognize as one of the names speaking on the Lightning Talks. So I won't steal Akrit's thunder, but she is part of the Wharton Alumni Female Founders Association, and she has recently joined our leadership team. And then lastly, Gordon Yu, who is our general counsel. So all of our documents and our governance is, so it was really a community. It takes a community to build something like this. And that is why I am super excited to say that now, less than 3 years after launch, we are at 12.7K members worldwide. because of all the wonderful people. So I just want to give some time to really applaud everybody's efforts in building a community of this size and level of engagement. And it's not just member count, for example. We've helped now over 150 that we've tracked receive job offers, receive promotions, and also we do get involved in private salary negotiations, because it's my opinion that we, as underrepresented communities, also deserve a fair voice in salary negotiations. So that is also one area where we work with our members. 50 plus workshops in all of our cities since we launched Advancing Women in Product in 7 cities worldwide. 100 plus ambassadors, so you'll hear from one of the leaders for our ambassador community. And our work has been featured in Forbes Women, Inc.com, Fast Company, Business Insider, and Cheddar TV. So with that said, I would like to turn it over to Akrit, who's our Chief Strategy Officer. So thank you guys so much again. I hope to have the opportunity to chat and talk with each and every one of you today.
Hello? Mic check. Is it on? Great. Well, thank you very much, Nancy. And before I dive into what we're thinking about from a strategic side for the next year, I wanted to give a moment to introduce myself. My name is Akrit. I've been associated with AWIP for the past 2 years. And when I first met Nancy, I was extremely inspired by how quickly she was building momentum behind this organization and how impactful the mission is of the organization. And it's definitely something that's a bit core to my personal story as well. And I think as I started to see how strategic we wanted to be and how we want to advance our mission, it became very clear that there was a very compelling value that we wanted to bring. And it was exciting to see the momentum that was being generated inbound through the communities we already had. And so through that, I've kind of been involved very closely with Nancy and the rest of the team to start expanding our impact across the globe. One of the things that it's been really a privilege around has been, when I joined, we were just a San Francisco chapter. And basically, Nancy and the early team were here, so we started the chapter here. And as we started to put on more events, we started to see people fly in from different cities to come to the events. And when they sat through the events, they felt there's something new they learned. They felt the impact of the chapter and what we were trying to build. And they wanted to take that home and bring it to their own cities. And that actually started creating a lot of interesting inbound for us. And basically what we learned was that this is, we felt this problem in the Bay Area, and this is a problem across the globe, but something that resonated in many different cities and people from different cities. And ultimately that led to people from the different sites contacting us saying, hey, I'd like to open a new chapter here. So we had to put together some structure around it, because we want to make sure that the quality of events we put together and the communities we form have enough of a gathering that we can start to really build something extremely valuable around the mission that we have. And what basically came out of that over this year is we have 4 chapters now. So today we're primarily present in North America, and we're looking to expand beyond that. Today our chapters are starting from Bay Area. We have a chapter in Seattle that Nancy's driving with Trina, and we have a chapter now in Boston. We have a chapter in New York that opened this year. And from the communities and the events that we've been putting together at these chapters, we're starting to see people from around the globe reaching out to us to say, hey, we'd like to start an AWIP chapter where we are. And that's actually leading to our global expansion. So I don't think I have the clicker. Are you able to click for? Oh, okay. You want to fast forward it to just one slide more? So what we're really looking at is how can we take the mission that we have and advance it to communities around the world. And a lot of this, everything here is not like we're going there and trying to start a chapter. It's all inbound through members in those cities feeling the power of what we're trying to build and wanting to be part of it and really build something of their own within an AWIP chapter. And so as of right now, we're looking at 2020 to have 4 new global chapters open across EMEA and APAC regions. And we are actually seeing a lot of other areas of growth in different geographics as well, but we're trying to kind of make sure that we build the right structure for each chapter to be independently successful and then be part of the HQ here, that we can support them in building a larger community. The current chapters that we have we're planning to open are in France, in Germany, in India, and in Singapore. And so if you know people in those areas and that would be interested in wanting to be part of the AWIP community and chapter, that's going to be the next set of chapters that we expand into. And I would also add that, certainly the mission for us long term is to continue to grow the footprint here and build more chapters that allows our communities to flourish in every part of the world. Great. I think so. With that, we can jump to the next slide. Um, Great. So when we think about expansion, that's one core element of what we're trying to do at AWIP, but there's a lot of other strategic initiatives that we're driving towards, and a lot of these are driven based on feedback and data points we get from our member communities. Thank you. And so the next thing I wanted to highlight was that one of the most interesting data points we got early this year was we learned that in the venture capital market, there's only 2% of venture capital funding that's going to women founders. And when we looked at the broader market of how many female-founded companies there are about 30 to 35%. So there's a lot of women out there starting companies but not getting the funding and the support they need. And that was like a big gap that we felt, okay, we should do something about this. And so Nancy and I were able to get together with Tatiana, who's one of our executive advisors, who'll be doing the keynote later. And we were able to basically create our inaugural Female Founders Initiative. And this essentially led to an event that we put together last March that was supported by Sapphire Ventures, where we brought in 20 female founders with 20 top-tier seed investors. And we were able to put together a competition, kind of like a speed pitch-based session that got the founders direct exposure and feedback in one-on-one sessions with at least 4 VCs. And that actually resulted in various founders getting funded, which is something that when we got feedback later, they mentioned we would never have met the VCs and never had a chance to kind of share our idea with investors to get the capital we needed to build our idea and build our vision. So that was extremely promising, and that was an event that some peripheral stats around that was when we opened the event, we actually had over 70 applicants. So we didn't expect it to be that encouraging, and we were only able to take 20 because we wanted to keep it very high quality and strive to a bar where the founders we bring in get high quality feedback and we can get them funded. So, but this gave us more conviction that we should do something bigger around this. And this led us to kind of reach out to the WAFA team that Jara started, the Warden Female Founders Alumni Association. And we saw a lot of compelling values and missions and what we wanted to accomplish. And we officially kicked off a partnership with them. And this is super exciting because Jara's vision around what she's trying to build through WAFA is strongly aligned with what we wanted to do and why we started the Female Founders Initiative. So we're going to be partnering with them moving into the next year to basically look at expanding how much more we can do on the female founder space and really close the gap that exists today. One other thing I wanted to point out as part of other strategic initiatives that we're looking at driving is there's the executive dinner series that we put together. We had one early this year with various top-tier executives. Some of them will be speaking later today in the sessions, and it was really exciting. We were able to talk to some really high-value topics around the mission of the organization, and a lot of that feedback and discussions gave us insights into higher quality content that we can put together for more events we want to host. So we want to actually create a bigger, a more regular cadence around an executive dinner series. So that's something that we're looking to definitely jumpstart a bit more next year and have a more recurring basis around it. And that's something that, if it resonates with any of you, we'd love to have you as part of that initiative as well. I want to just briefly mention on top of that a lot of these events get sponsored or advocated through our ambassador community. Our ambassadors are such a core part of what we do. And the ambassador team will speak more to this towards the end, but we love working with our ambassadors. It wouldn't be where it is without the ambassadors. So if you feel strongly with what we're doing, and I think being here, a lot of you resonate with what we're trying to do, we'd love to have you in our ambassador community. And the summit is something that, you're here for the summit. This is something we'll do once a year. It's really exciting. This is almost 3x the size we had last year when we did it at DocuSign. And we want to continue to grow that footprint. The last thing I'll mention on the strategic side is we are continuing to make the push on higher quality content, because ultimately to make sure that we support our communities and women leaders that are part of our community, we publish really high quality material. And this comes down to the different workshops that we do, the different panels and monthly events that we do. So every chapter, every month we'll host events, and the quality of these events really keep our community very strong and close-knit. And so this is something that we continue to have a strategic emphasis around. One thing that kind of came out of some of the membership, some of the events that we've been putting together, was the need for like a future women's report. And Nancy shared a few data points on this, but that was a report that we published early this year. And that report gave us a lot more clarity around how we should reorient some of the content that we have so that we can create even higher value events. So that's something from a strategic angle is not something we're going to ever let down. As we expand, we want to keep the quality bar high because we want to make sure that the events we put together every attendee that is part of that event is walking away with something meaningful. Yeah, and with that, I think so. I'll hand it off to Jenny next, who will actually speak a bit more around the communities we have and how we're starting to officialize a membership experience within AWIP, because we've grown so drastically fast that we're trying to make sure we keep a strong community engagement within the organization. Cool. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Great. So as you heard Nancy and Akrit say, we've been growing. We've been growing super fast over the past year. So right now, most of kind of our outreach and how we reach out to you probably kind of looks like this, right? You're hearing us from LinkedIn, maybe your word of mouth, your friends, who knows? It's coming everywhere. And at the same time, we don't have a great channel for you guys to give us feedback on what events are actually working and how we can better serve you so that you can actually achieve the mission that we're looking to solve. So in 2020, what we're hoping to basically build out is a full-on membership platform, starting out with basically a free tier. So bringing everyone together on one platform where you can actually engage and connect with each other. How great would it be where you change jobs and you already have a network in Boston, New York, or San Francisco, right? All of us change jobs, we all move cities, it's very natural. So we started off this in the past few weeks, and then today we're actually gonna be launching our premium AWIP, what I'm calling AWIP Insider. You guys should all have a little QR code in each of your pamphlets with the Join Us logo. You can click on the QR code, fill out the application, and just go through the process there. It's pretty simple. The purpose of kind of having these two-tiered approach is one, to better segment your needs and help us understand, you know, what you guys are really looking for in terms of the higher quality content, as well as like how you can better connect with a lot of our network and ambassadors that we've already been working with that Akrit outlined. Yep. And then, so just a quick overview of kind of more of some of the benefits we're looking at, right? Just understand kind of where the differences are between the members and the insider program. So regular members still get access to all the events and obviously networking opportunities, as well as more curated kind of mentoring with our ambassadors. And one new thing that we're looking to kind of launch more exclusively, in the past, we've primarily been focused more on kind of inbound leads from our career corner and resume workshop, but we're gonna take a more active approach and actually helping people secure those jobs, make those connections, actually land them into the higher positions you're actually looking for. Another issue that is really driving why we're kind of going with this tiered approach is if you go to a lot of the other women forums, you know, you'll see a lot of entry-level roles asking people like, hey, how do I get a job in product? But that's not really the mission and what we're looking to solve, right? So this is hoping to kind of cut out some of that noise as well so we can really target and give you guys like what you're looking for. So it's pretty much all I had. If you have any questions, I'm gonna be walking around, and don't forget to apply. You guys all have flyers. That's it. Yep. And then I think we're giving it to Pranava. See. Yeah.
Does this work? Perfect. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am very honored to have you all here today. It is really exciting to see how AWIP has grown in the short time that we've been around. So my name is Pranava, and I oversee programming for AWIP. Just a quick show of hands. Have any of you been to an AWIP event before? Okay, so we're going to work on that. Next year, all the hands should go up. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what we try to accomplish with AWIP programming. As Nancy mentioned, AWIP is aiming at the pathway problem, which is once you're in, how do you actually climb and go up in your career, right? And so when we started thinking about what we could do to meaningfully influence this, we looked at two things. One is skills-based content, which is when you're going up to climb, your skills should never be in question. That should be a rock-solid thing that is never called in, right? The other thing is the executive sponsorship that helps you build out your presence and makes you fit for the next level. And so what we try to do with programming is we put on events that address the skills-based content workshops. So in terms of where we've gone from 2017, we had 3 events in 2017. In 2018, we had 14 events, and in 2019, we had 17 events. So we've been growing. This is also reflected in the number of attendees, where it's roughly 10x since we started, so we're also proud of that. Going into 2020, it's actually a really exciting time for us because we're growing internationally as well. And so one of the things I'm really excited about in terms of what we can do with programming is we're going to be localizing content based on the locale. So for example, with AWIP New York, you get exciting industries that just aren't around in Seattle and SF. For example, there's fintech, there's fashion, there's all types of localizations that we can be doing. So that's one aspect that we're really interested in. To do a quick recap of the type of events that we've been doing, these are some of the themes that we've been going after, and you might wonder why we're going after these things, and this is because we actually sample our audience and try to find out what events are relevant for them. And the reason we do this is these are the things that are coming up in terms of when you want to go up for promotion and you want to be well versed in certain skill sets. These are the things that our audiences are telling us that they want to be listening to. And so as we go into 2020, this will be continuing where we'll be expanding to new chapters, we'll be learning what they want and putting on more events for that. So yeah, I'm always happy to talk about programming. If you guys have any questions about what we're going to be doing in 2020, happy to answer. Thank you.
So thank you for that. Oh, I think we're good. So thank you for that great overview, Jenny, Akrit, to give you guys a view of what we've been doing since we launched. It's been a busy 2.5 years. And so just want to say, throughout today, if you have any suggestions of new workshop ideas that you'd like us to cover or new areas for us to expand to, those are the folks in the back to talk to. So with that said, we have a 10 to 20 minute coffee break before we officially kick off our speaker content, starting with Tatiana Mahmood, who is the Chief Product Officer at Nextdoor. So quick blurb before Tatiana gets here, otherwise I'll embarrass her, is Tatiana is the reason I am at Amazon right now. So when I first met Tatiana, I actually was not considering a job at Amazon at the time, but she and I have kept up over time. And if you look on our website, she's also AWIP's executive advisor. So she brokers different relationships for us and gives us ideas. For example, the Female Founders event was also her idea. And she's extremely supportive of women in tech and also underrepresented groups. And she opened the door for me to become a product leader at Amazon. So that's a journey and also experience that I want to bring to all of you, as well as all of those who couldn't join us in person today, who are watching our content online, who are reading our blogs or our news articles. And that's the experience that I want to carry forward with AWIP. So with that said, let's reconvene around 1:50 to get ready for Tatiana. Thank you.